Welcome. Today we will talk about Charles Dickens. He is very famous Victorian novelist and several of his questions appeared in different exam for UGC-NET English literature. Today we are going to talk about some of his important novel, some characters and why these novels are popular. Victorian age is the most fundamental age and at least five questions are expected from it. But here we will solely focus on Charles Dickens and the first thing that we are going to talk about the very character Mr. and Mrs. Murder. This pair of character appears in a famous novel Little Dorrit. This question appears several times in exam and which make it one of the most basic question as it is not very important question as a case of novel and these come into secondary characters and hence we have to check among these characters which are either secondary, tertiary or whatever and hence these things make such type of characters valuable. Second character that we are going to discuss is Quilp. Quilp. This character appears in famous novel Old Curiosity Soap, The Old Curiosity Soap, again by Charles Dickens and whatever I say about the character of Mr. and Mrs. Murmur same is applicable on that one too and hence we have to check this character with the need and third thing that we are going to check about the character that appears in the famous novel Oliver Twist and this character is artful dodger. This is very important when the thief who was in company of Charles Dickens and taught him art of theft and this is the very same novel where we have very famous phrase, please sir I want some more, and these words are by Oliver Twist to the authority to demand food and so on and these things are very popular and both the question and the quotation appear at least two times in UGC-NET in different and hence we have to check on that these character as well as of the novel's quotation. The fourth in the list is Mr. Ponsap. This character is very important again from the famous novel Our Mutual Friend and we have to check it as it appears several time again in exam and these are important characters again so till here we have checked novels like Little Dorrit, The Old Curiosity Soap, Our Mutual Friend and Oliver Twist and these novels are one of the unique in case of characterization and the next character that we have is of Lady Dedlock. This again character is having so much weight upon it and it appears in the famous novel Bleak House and another the next character in the list is of Tiny Tim. This character is very valuable from UGC point of view and it appears in the famous novel The Christmas Carol and these are few important characters that could be found in novels of Charles Dickens, but it does not mean that these are the only characters. We have to check again the character Little Nell, that is again very important if we are going to do UGC perspective exam and opening novels remark this is the best of time, this is the worst of time is very important and we have to check these segment also and these make it more important and if apart from Charles Dickens, if we could talk a little bit about Victorian era and some phrases like arts for art's sake and phrases associated to Walter Pater, his painting or poetic type of style, and the more important phrase that we have is of Charlotte Bronte, and the phrase is "Reader, I married him," and this appears in chapter 38 of Jane Eyre novel. This question is frequently asked by UGC NET exam for English literature, and even if we are checking who or which poem is written what we could say about William Wordsworth and The Lost Leader, the poem by uh, Robert Browning come into it, and there are two or three poet laureate that this age has given, and you could start it with Southey, and then come William Wordsworth, and lastly Alfred Tennyson, and these three poets remains throughout the history of Elizabethan era. And once the Elizabeth died, and then we have another poet laureate somewhere around death of Alfred Tennyson, somewhere around 1892, and then we are having the another new poet laureate. In that sense, you can say there were before beginning and end there are at least four poet laureate in all total, and this we have to check, and another points that we could say in it, the civil wars or that war with China, opium wars, and wars. These Waterloo kind of things are also asked, although it is out of domain from English literature, but these are also part of it. Sometime I have seen opium wars were also there. In that sense, you have to check why these things are rejected, neglected, included, excluded. Are these part of English literature or not? And without these, it would be hard to crack net. And as we have discussed earlier, that Victorian era is most important age, and in the question that comes from it, not from the famous authors like you could say they will never ask direct question from that Alfred Tennyson, Charles Dickens, and so on. From Alfred Tennyson, they will give you lines of poems, and these lines could be from in between or whatever, and you have to identify from which poem these are, or the lines can be also given from Matthew Arnold. They will not say who is author of Scholar Gypsy and so on, and they will just go with this content kind of thing, because I remember there is a poem questions or other thing which are not direct from poem or a summary kind of thing. They just ask those things which are not easy, and there are also sometimes secondary authors we have seen these Walter Pater and others. Those are asked, and sometimes Tractarian movement, Oxford movement, and sometimes tracts are also asked, imagism, and so on. So these are the things which comes in this time, and we have to check them, and this is for today, and let's see what we have in next. Till then, take care.